When people talk about moving to Dayton, Ohio, they usually ask about the same two or three places over and over, right? But Miami Valley is much more diverse than people actually give it credit for. So today, what I want to do is I want to show you the top 5 communities that attract very different types of people and different buyers from all over the area. So my name's David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Advisors Real Estate in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also with David Moyer Real Estate. I've lived here my entire life. I've been selling real estate in the greater Dayton area for over 21 years. Graduate of Springboro High School, class of 97, Wright State University, class of '01. And today we're going to talk about 5 Miami Valley communities that buyers continue to talk about in 2026. This is not an official ranking or anything like that. There's no stats out there that you can Google that's going to show this. And I'm not saying one is automatically better than another. So this is just what I'm telling you from my experience. The right town depends on your budget. It depends on your commute. It depends on your lifestyle and actually what you want your daily life to look like. So there's endless opportunities here. So let's dive into it. Now, a real quick caveat here, I don't simply want to tell you, this town is good or this town is bad. That's not what I'm here for, especially as a real estate agent. I do want to explain how each community could actually fit you and what the trade-offs could possibly be and what I would actually think about if I were moving there myself and if I was moving there with a family or if I was relocating there for work or if I was even looking for my first home. So, because sometimes the most popular communities that you can Google on the internet isn't really going to be the best fit for you, depending on where you're coming from or why you're coming here. Let's start off with one of my favorites, and that's Beavercreek, Ohio. And why is Beavercreek one of my favorites? It's because it's a very transient community for a lot of our PCSers that come here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it's one of the first places I discuss with people, once again, because it's connected to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So, especially if you're moving here and you want that convenience and you want shopping, you want some newer housing options that are readily available, and you want access to a lot of major roadways. It also attracts a lot of buyers who want to be close to the base but don't necessarily want to live in a highly urban environment. And that's just not for everybody, right? The trade-off, however, is that the demand is always strong in Beavercreek, Ohio because of the base. And in certain parts of Beavercreek, it can be a lot more expensive than buyers initially expect. So that's something to make sure you keep into consideration. So if I were moving there, I would probably look really carefully at the commutes, the age of the property taxes especially, and whether the neighborhood feels really, really established or if it's still under development. A lot of these newer communities that are still under construction, if you are here for a temporary amount of time and you know you're going to be selling before that community is completed, a lot of times actually buying in that newer community may not be the smartest move. So Beavercreek is not just a single experience, but different sections feel completely different. Now, as you can guess, obviously I was going to talk about Springboro. It's my alma mater. It's where I call home. I don't live there anymore, but it's where I grew up, and I know that you're going to love Springboro. Springboro is a really strong choice for a lot of people for a whole host of reasons. And it's along the southern Dayton corridor, and there's great access to Cincinnati from Springboro, Ohio, and that's why a lot of people actually choose it. And it has a strong suburban environment with a lot of family-oriented housing. So that's what makes it so strong. I often talk with a lot of my buyers who are working in the Dayton area, but also want the flexibility towards the south, that Springboro is a really, really good option. But the question I would ask is, where do you spend a majority of your week? Because a commute can also be affordable on paper, but if you're driving a long distance every single day, that commute becomes a big cost of living, especially with today's gas prices. So Springboro could be a great fit for buyers who want newer neighborhoods, they want a suburban convenience, but you still need to compare each section individually. There are some great options in Springboro, Ohio, the schools, the shopping, the convenience. You can get to Cincinnati in a matter of 40 minutes. You can get to downtown Dayton in a matter of 30. So it's a great middle ground. Springboro, Ohio, check it out. Now, Centerville tends to attract buyers who want really, truly established communities. It's one of the older communities in the greater Dayton area. A lot of mature neighborhoods, shopping, restaurants, and a really strong central location within the greater Dayton area. So some people actually are looking for a newer home. You can find that in Centerville, Ohio. Others that want an older home with larger trees, established streets, and a lot more character. You could also find that in Centerville, Ohio. So it has kind of the best of both worlds, and it still to this day continues to expand. The trade-off for Centerville, Ohio, I would probably say, is that the homes and the lots can vary very, very widely. So you may find one home that is completely updated and another nearby that needs significant work. So if you're buying in a neighborhood that's already established, make sure you know exactly what you're getting into, what those comps look like, and know what the value is going to look like 3, 4, 5 years down the road and what the trend is for that neighborhood. So if you're looking in Centerville, Ohio, don't just compare the list price. Compare the updates, compare the taxes especially, compare the lot, compare that roof, compare the mechanical systems, and on the long-term maintenance of the property. Centerville is a great place to go. Everyone loves Centerville. There's a lot to do. Once again, it's centrally located. You can get to downtown Dayton in a matter of 20 minutes, and you can get to Cincinnati in around 45. Huber Heights is one of those communities that I think deserves a much closer look than most people give it credit for, especially for the buyers that want access towards Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they also want the northeast side of Dayton, and they want the I-70 corridor. We've talked about the 75 corridor, north and south. What about the 70 corridor that goes over to Indianapolis or goes out to the east? It can offer a different price point from some of the other areas and a lot more of the expensive suburb markets that we've already talked about. But the neighborhoods, once again, in Huber Heights, they're not all the same. This is where local knowledge matters a lot more than just going online and Googling Huber Heights, Ohio. You want to understand what the exact street, the age of the neighborhood, what the traffic patterns are like, the nearby developments, and what the resale demand looks like for that specific type of property. Because different parts of Huber Heights react differently, and the market completely different in this part of Huber Heights compared to this part of Huber Heights. So if I were helping somebody today relocate here, I would simply send them every single listing in Huber Heights, right? And then I would narrow it down based off of their commute. I would have their housing condition needs and the type of neighborhood they actually want. Once again, that commute's going to be really, really important. Oh, not to mention, if you really like entertainment, Huber Heights has a newer concert venue called The Rose. Check it out, Google it. The Rose brings in some large headline acts, and in the summer, it's a great outdoor venue to check out some headliners that come through the greater Dayton area. And finally, let's talk about Xenia. Yes, Xenia. Xenia can appeal to buyers who want more space, and they want a little bit of a smaller community feel, and they want access to a broader Greene County and Dayton-centered job focus, right? So it may also be worth considering for buyers who are comfortable trading off some of the conveniences of the commute and everything like that for a little bit more room, or maybe a little bit quieter lifestyle in the suburbs, a little bit more rural type feel. The key question is not only how far is Xenia from Dayton, right? There's a lot more to it. The better question is, where are you actually driving from each and every single day, and how does that fit with your lifestyle? You also want to look at services like the commute routes, the neighborhood conditions, and how easy it is to resell the home later. Xenia is easy to access from I-35, and you can access the base within moments. You can get to downtown Dayton within around 15 to 20 minutes. Once again, if you're trying to get to Cincinnati, that's going to be a little bit more of a haul, but you can get to Columbus on the flip side in around 1 hour. So to list them all out, if I were simplifying this all together, I think I might say it kind of in this way. Beavercreek is often attractive to Wright-Patterson and convenient-focused buyers. Springboro is worth looking into for those southern corridor buyers that want to be south of Dayton with easy access to Cincinnati and are definitely a little bit more family focused. Centerville fits people with an established suburban environment, and they're looking for some newer construction, or they're looking for an established neighborhood with some great updates. Huber Heights may appeal to the buyers that are looking for something north of downtown Dayton, easy access to I-70 so they can get to either Columbus or Indianapolis, and they have different price points that maybe are a little bit more conservative compared to our southern neighbors. And Xenia can be a great fit for buyers who want a lot more space and a smaller community atmosphere and a quieter lifestyle. But none of these should be chosen in a 5-minute search. There's a lot more to dive into. So I definitely encourage you to reach out, email me, leave a comment below, DM me. All my information's in the bio, so we can do a deep dive into the neighborhood that you're initially thinking is going to be a good fit for you, and we can actually talk through that in a consultation to see if it's going to be the perfect fit. So at the end of the day, the Miami Valley gives you some really great options, and that's one of the best things about living here. There's a place for everybody. You can be close to a major employer, you can live in an established neighborhood, you can find newer construction, or you can move further out and have all the space that you ever dreamed of. You could have all of that depending on what your needs are. The right answer depends on what your commute is and what you're willing to put up with, what your budget is, obviously, and what your lifestyle is, and quite frankly, what your plans are 5 years from now. That's always important as well. So drop in the comments. Let me know which Miami Valley community you want me to break down next, which one you think deserves to be on this list. I would love to go over that as well in one of my next videos. So once again, my name's David Moyer with Keller Williams Advisors in Dayton, Ohio. David Moyer Real Estate. I want to be your friend in real estate as well as your friend here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm passionate about what I do here, passionate about my city, and I want to share that passion with you. Thanks for watching.